How you doing, everybody? This is Let's Be Real with Brad, and so today I cannot be waving my arms up in the air because I have a little kitty on my lap that does not want to leave, and I gotta do the review this way. So before I start the review, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. It means the world to me. You guys are liking my videos. Subscribe to the channel. You guys are the best. Before Christopher Landon's new film Freaky comes out this Friday, I want to be talking about his past two films, Happy Death Day films. So today we're going to be doing the first Happy Death Day, which was a black comedy slasher film that came out in 2017. It was a massive hit. For me, I think this is a really fun and solid film that I actually have seen a couple times and has grown on me since those rewatches. For me, what I think works about this film is it's basically Groundhog Day meets Scream. I love both those films, so for me, this movie is going to end up working perfectly in my favor. What makes this movie hold up so well is Jessica Ross's performance. Little Bear, are you going? Okay. She is excellent in this movie. She has some of the best lines and the best jokes, and she is such high energy all the time throughout this film. And so for me, I'm so attached to this character, and her performance absolutely seals the deal. And she gives off some really good emotional moments in this film that I was not expecting that does lead to a positive. I love the comedy and satirical element in this film. That is something that I think I really enjoy in a lot of horror films, is that comedy horror genre. I love the ways that we can expand on that genre, kind of making its own thing with mostly the slasher genre, but adding a kind of a parodial or satirical way of looking at those things and making fun of that and dropping those tropes like in Scream does. And so those are definitely my favorite kind of horror films because it really opens up the genre in that way. And so I think the film does a pretty good job of doing that in its own film, and I found it extremely hilarious every single time. There's a lot of emotional aspects I don't necessarily want to get into because they don't really cover in the trailer, but I think they do a pretty decent job of hitting those more emotional moments. Hi, Little Bear. There's a really cool and mysterious aspect to this film that I love that actually kept me guessing the entire time throughout. I actually thought I had figured out by the middle of the film, and it just wraps you around in so many different ways. And I think that movies that are able to pull this off are the ones that are truly the best. And rewatching it so many times after, the movie does a really good job of setting up these hidden gems throughout that if you really pay attention enough, you can somewhat guess it, but the movie does an awesome job later in the film of distracting you, taking you away from that mysterious element that you're not supposed to know. And so you as a viewer are distracted from that main mystery. And then once it comes back, you're like, whoa, that was a pretty good twist, even though it was kind of right in front of you. And I think that's why that I really enjoy both these films, is because there's so much high energy going on every single time, especially with a lot of the kills and the creative ways the kills are being used, or some of the humor is written well, and I found it very funny. I just had a really good time watching this movie because it is very short, it's very easy to digest, and it's one that you can just put on whenever you want, especially during the Halloween season, and enjoy a really fun horror flick. The twist ending in this movie that goes along with that mystery that I did not see coming, and that really is due to distracting you from that mystery that leads into that twist ending. It actually made a lot of sense when I thought about it. Sure, it was a little drastic and a little bit extreme, but it was something that it felt like it pulled one out of Scream's playbook and just did something that was out of the ordinary, creative, and they explained it really well that, I don't know, I was just on board. I think the director, Christopher Landon, actually does a pretty solid job with some of these creative scenes, as I love the creative transitions of our character Tree, that she has to die over and over again. And so there's a little creative ways of how she dies and goes back in her sleep. And there's so many those fun moments that make it for a solid directorial entry. This movie does have a handful of negatives, as I do enjoy this movie overall, but this movie doesn't go away with those negatives. The first one is the kills. The kills are very disappointing, as a lot of them are super creative, but think about this. If this movie was an R-rated movie, my goodness, I think this movie would have skyrocketed with my score, because there's no blood at all, and a lot of the kills are kind of cut away, so you don't really see that grotesque aspect. And it's not that I want to see that, but it makes for a more gory and exciting and thrilling film that when the comedy's there, it's funny, but when the horror's there, it's really gruesome. And I feel like we don't get too much of that gruesomeness that we would have gotten in like a movie like Scream that really handles that R rating so well. The humor in this film is very funny and most of the jokes do land and entertain me. I also feel that the writing is a little messy. If you really start to think and dive deep into this film, you'll notice that there is a lot of plot holes, a lot of things that don't make sense, or how come they just didn't do this? How come they just didn't do that? And that's something that I feel like the movie isn't truly detailed with. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not looking for anything crazy. I mean, it's Groundhog Day meets Scream, okay? They're two crazy concepts that I don't know are going to work if you really try to make this detailed, well-made film. And maybe one day someone can do it, but I feel as though that sometimes it just doesn't really make sense. And some of the transitional scenes are sometimes kind of filled with fluff, and there's a lot of repetition in some of these scenes that do get a little annoying, and I think we could have cut some of those parts out. In the second act, it does feel very long, as this movie really clocks in around maybe over 90 minutes, and it does feel like I'm watching about a 2-hour movie, and so sometimes that is a little disappointing, and that is due to mostly the Groundhog Day effect. That is in a lot of movies and definitely has that long feel to it. I know that's what we're supposed to feel, just like the main character, where she just keeps doing this over and over again and she's just so sick of it. And that's the feeling we're supposed to get. But it just gets a little annoying after a while, and that's just a personal taste thing for me. Some of the other acting in this movie isn't all that great. I know Jessica Rothe is fantastic in this movie, but everyone else kind of gives mixed to solid to kind of mediocre acting that does get a couple of unintentional laughs out of me throughout the film. I think they could have done a little bit better with their side casting, as I know they're not as important, but it would have made it for a more immersive experience. Cinematography and music are very bland in this movie. The cinematography does feel like a generic Blumhouse film that you'll see in like the $5 bin, where it's just all glossy, it looks super bright, and it's something that you just see out of like another college horror movie, which was a little disappointing. There's no flair, really anything exciting that's going on with the look of the film. The music was also kind of forgettable. I don't really remember anything about the music. Overall, I think this is a fun, silly, over-the-top, solid movie with Jessica Roth's amazing performance that does carry this movie and put it all together for me with some pretty creative kills, awesome laughs, and just for an enjoyable experience that I think everyone should check out, even though the trailer was kind of made this movie like a generic Blumhouse film that maybe you think that's what it is, but I think it does a little bit more than those other films with some of its emotional aspects and some creativity involved. I'm going to give this film a solid 6 out of 10. So let me know, guys, have you guys seen Happy Death Day? Have you seen the second one? Are you guys excited to see Freaky this Friday? If you're even going to the movie theater, let me know all that down below. And as always, see you guys next video.